They say the wildest places are not the ones you see on the map, but the ones you feel in your bones. That the most treacherous paths are not marked with warning signs, but with an invitation too perfect to refuse. They call to the pride in you, the curiosity, the part that whispers, "What if I am the first?" This is not a story about getting lost. This is a story about a hollow that hungers for the found. A story of two friends who followed a trail that was not a trail, but a throat. Family, gather close. This is the Dread Codex. And the story begins in the whispering heart of the Appalachians, where the trees hold secrets older than prayer, and the rock remembers a different kind of communion. My name is Ethan. I do not trust silence in the woods anymore. I check the reflections in still water twice. This is why. In the October of last year, my best friend Mason and I drove deep into the Eden Hollow region of West Virginia. We were veterans of weekend warrior trips, Smoky Mountains, Acadia, the Blue Ridge Parkway. Our SUV was a patchwork of park stickers. But we were soft. City soft. Desk job soft. We craved something raw. Mason found it, a topo map notation for an unmaintained spur off the Black Bear Trail, leading to a rumored Virgin Falls. No official photos. Just forum whispers. It was perfect. We arrived at the trailhead Friday night under a bruised, swollen sky. By morning, the weather had cleared to a deceptively bright, cold calm. We rented a cheap cabin smelling of pine sap and mildew, caught a few hours of sleep, and by 2 p.m. we were shouldering our packs. We were already behind schedule. Mason, ever the fever dream optimist, just grinned. More drama for the vlog, brother. The best light's the scary light. The first warning was the shepherd. An old man, his face a relief map of wrinkles, sat on a stump where the maintained trail forked from the wild. He whittled a piece of hickory, not looking up as we approached. That path there, Mason pointed to a faint break in the rhododendron thicket. That goes up to the feeder creek for Virgin Falls, right? The old man's knife stilled. He didn't raise his eyes. That path ain't a path. It's a memory. And it's got a mean recall. Folks who take it, their minds don't always come back whole. Stick to the painted blazes, boys. Mason laughed, a sharp dismissive sound. Superstition. They always say that to keep the secret spots secret, but I felt it, a drop in temperature, a sudden stillness in the chirping crickets, as if the woods themselves had heard the name of that place. My gut said turn back, but Mason's zeal was a current, and I was caught in it. We plunged into the thicket. The biology changed wrong. We passed 3,000 feet where the hardwoods should have thinned. Instead, the forest grew denser, twisted. Hemlocks with trunks corkscrewed like screaming mouths. The light took on a green, subaquatic gloom. The cold wasn't mountain fresh, it was tomb cold, leaching through our jackets. Then, the technology failed. I set up my gimbal for a tracking shot. The AI lock-on, a flawless piece of engineering, didn't follow us. It locked onto empty space 6 feet to our left, the green box hovering over nothing. Over air. I shut it off, my hands trembling. Machines don't hallucinate. Mason grew quiet. His mild asthma, usually a non-issue, began to tighten his chest. We paused to boil water on my camp stove. The silence was absolute. No wind, no birds, no rustle. It was the silence of a held breath. That's when Mason touched the tree. a massive, blistered oak. He laid a hand on its bark and jerked back as if burned. "Ethan," he whispered, his voice stripped of all bravado. "It's warm." And when I touched it, I felt a heartbeat. I told him it was altitude sickness. I forced an inhaler into his hand, but his eyes were different. The eager fire was gone, replaced by a hollow, deep-seated dread. "We should go back," he said, and for the first time I agreed. But it was as if the hollow heard his surrender and refused it. The trail. Liquefied. One moment it was there, the next, swallowed by ferns and shadow. Dusk fell not gradually, but like a shutter slamming down. In the beam of my headlamp, the world became a tunnel of shifting black. I realized I couldn't hear Mason's breathing behind me. I turned. He was gone. "Mason!" My shout was swallowed by the muffled woods. Panic, pure and electric, shot through me. I stumbled forward, calling his name, until my voice cracked. And then I saw it, a structure. A herder's shelter, stones stacked in the ancient, unmortared way, hunched against a cliff face. And inside, illuminated by my trembling light, Mason. He sat cross-legged on the dirt floor, perfectly calm. "Mason." "God, don't do that." "Why didn't you answer?" He looked at me, his face serene. "I've been right here. Everything was wrong." His breathing was even. His color was normal. The frantic, asthmatic wheeze was gone. He looked peaceful, eerily so. "Your inhaler," I stammered. "You good? The air is clean here," he said, his voice smooth as oil. "It's finally clean." My phone was dead. I remembered his had a satellite map. "Hey, unlock your phone. I need to see where the hell we are." I pointed the screen at his face. The infrared dot scanned. Face not recognized. I tried again. Face not recognized. The algorithm, designed to tell living flesh from photo or mask, was screaming that the man beside me was neither. A sound echoed from the woods outside the shelter, a ragged, wet, desperate gasp for air. Mason's gasp. The sound of the friend I knew, dying out there in the dark. The thing beside me smiled. It was a slow, plastic stretching of the lips that didn't touch its eyes. "Don't listen," it cooed. "It's a mimic. It wants to lure you out. It's hungry. Stay with me. We can wait here forever." My mind fractured. Two Masons. One dying in the night, one sitting in preternatural calm. Which was the trap? "Mason," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Our first trip. Where was it?" The thing's smile widened, a crack appearing in the facade. "Why dwell on the past, Ethan? We have the present. This perfect, quiet present." From the darkness outside, the real Mason's voice came, weaker now, not calling me to him, but pleading. "Ethan, run." That was the key. A real friend doesn't call you into the dark. He tells you to flee it. The thing saw my understanding. Its serene expression melted like wax, sliding into something jagged and ancient. It began to rise, its movements all wrong, joints bending in directions meant to break. A sound saved me, the distant, furious baying of hounds. The thing's head snapped toward the sound, hatred contorting its stolen face. It let out a hiss that smelled of loam and decay, and slithered out into the night toward the source of the noise. I didn't think. I ran the opposite way, toward the gasping. I found him crumpled at the base of a tree, blue-lipped, his inhaler empty beside him. Kneeling over him, gripping his shoulder, was the old shepherd. Two blue-tick hounds snarled into the blackness, holding an invisible line. The old man's eyes were not kind. They were furious. Told you, he spat. This hollow. It ain't haunted by ghosts. It's sick with an idea. An old, wrong idea of purity. It finds what's weak in you, pride, sickness, fear, and it offers to take it away. It makes a copy of you, without the flaw. A perfect, empty thing. And it keeps the original to feed on. He hauled Mason up, throwing his arm over his own shoulders. The fire at my camp is cedar and rowan. It holds the line. But it's dying. Move, boy, unless you want to meet the thing that's wearing your friend's face and learn what it wants to replace in you. We staggered after him. Once I glanced back. At the edge of the firelight's dying reach stood the Mason thing. It was no longer trying to look human. It was a silhouette of condensed shadow and twisted bark, but with his eyes, his wide, terrified eyes, floating in the formless dark. It wasn't looking at me. It was staring at the guttering fire in the shepherd's hand, with the longing of a starved animal. We reached the shepherd's lean-to as the last ember died. He didn't let us sleep. He made us recite the Lord's Prayer, backwards and forwards, until our voices were raw. The old words have power here, he muttered. Not because God's in these hills, but because the things that are. They remember when he was named against them. At first light, he led us out. We never saw the falls. Mason recovered his breath, but not his peace. He speaks in whispers now, and jumps at mirrors. He says sometimes his reflection moves a second after he does. And me. I sold all my gear. I moved to a flat, sun-scorched city with no forests. Last Tuesday, the potted fern in my apartment died. No reason. Just turned black and brittle overnight. When I went to throw it out, the soil was warm to the touch. And pressed into the dirt, clear as a fingerprint, was a perfect, tiny footprint. Not an animal's. A child's. From the bedroom, where Mason was visiting for the first time since that night, I heard his inhaler hiss. Once. Twice. Then his voice, calm and smooth as oil, called out, "Ethan? The air's so much cleaner in here now. Don't you think?" This is the story of Eden Hollow. It is not a story of monsters in the dark. It is a perfection. The most profound horror is not the thing that wants to destroy you, but the thing that wants to improve you. To carve away your pain, your illness, your fear, until nothing of your soul remains. It mistakes emptiness for purity. So listen closely, family. If you walk a path that feels too welcoming, if the silence feels like an embrace, if you are offered a version of yourself shorn of all weakness, all flaw, all humanity, scream, fight, bleed. Hold tight to your imperfections. They are the anchors of your soul. Some places do not want your life. They want your template. And some copies are not made to replace you, but to show you the hollow shape you'd become. If you have a story that haunts you, send it to contact.thedreadcodex@gmail.com. Your truth becomes our tale. Your likes and comments keep these stories alive. Until next time, may your path be lit. May your faith be your own. Good night.